Hey guys, welcome to the August stories vlog. The reading vlog was last year, the stories vlog. I forgot to mention this in the last vlog, but I actually did this last month. I finished listening to The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle on audiobook. I enjoyed the concept. I wanted to know more about the concept than the actual plot, I think. And also it was a bit difficult for audiobook because there was so many characters and it was so intricate and complicated. Like, I feel like halfway through I needed a recap. I needed someone to tell me what was going on, like who's who, like what the important information was. I started listening to, which I've also told you about, but I'm further in, Becoming by Michelle Obama, and I think I've come to the conclusion that that woman knows more about America, like real America, than any other woman. She's really awesome, and you should listen to her audiobook because she narrates it and it's really cool. I'm assuming the book is really cool, but it's even cooler to hear it in her voice. I finished listening to Becoming by Michelle Obama and I loved it a lot. You should definitely listen to it. Everything that I said before about it stands. It was really good. She is very interesting. I would highly recommend. I started listening to Circe by Madeline Miller, and I'm really enjoying it. I think I would have preferred it more if I'd read it, but here we are. So yeah, I'm like 3 hours in. I finished reading Classical Mythology, the little guide thing. I really liked it. I would really recommend it if you're into mythology or you want to know more about it, especially if you're into like women in mythology and sexism in mythology. It was really interesting on that front, and it was also kind of inspiring in a weird way. Sort of a bit like how like myths are only what we make of them, and that we should kind of write our own stories. I don't know, it was really cool. I would recommend. And I started reading Another Day by David Levithan, which is the sequel to Every Day by David Levithan. And you guys know that I didn't really like Every Day, but I own the sequel, so I'm just reading it. And it turns out, whereas I didn't particularly enjoy the first one, the second one is the same story but from a different point of view. So it's not even like a new, fresh idea. It's the same story. I read a cute little graphic novel called Minority Monsters by Tab Kimpton, I think his name is. Yeah, it was really cute. It was like a graphic novel and each page was like a different sexuality, and it sort of like had like debunking myths about this sexuality, and it had like traits of the mythical creature that the sexuality was being portrayed as. So that was really cute and really fun. I'm about halfway through Another Day, and it's an almost exact retelling, like down to like the chapter lengths and like where things take place in like the timeline of the book. There is almost like, I think I've learned one thing about the character that wasn't in the other book. It's just a reread. It feels like a reread and of a book that I didn't even particularly like in the first place. So I'm halfway through and it's a really, really easy book to read, so I am going to finish it, but I'm not enjoying it. I went to London for a week, vlog coming soon, and I read the whole of In Exchange by Stephen M. Caddy. This was in some ways pretty cool, in some ways like less cool. The concept was a really good idea. So it was this character who was born in space, lived his whole life on space, and then he comes to Earth, and then like halfway through the book, the kind of friend that he's made on Earth comes to live with him on the space station. So it's kind of like an interesting look at like how life is on Earth to an outsider, but also like about how like the grass is always greener and blah blah blah. Yeah, the concept was kind of cool, but the execution was like meh. I think it would make a good like young adults book, so like 13, 14 kind of age, like breaking into YA sci-fi. Continuing to read Another Day by David Levithan, and it continues to be fine. So while I was in London, I started reading Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth on my phone. Let me get it up, because here on BorrowBooks, because when I was at Summer in the City, which the vlog should already be up for that, I had to stand in a bunch of lines and I didn't want to take a book with me to carry around all day, so I downloaded one onto my phone. So once I finished reading Another Day, which I don't think will take much longer. I think I've nearly finished it and it's pretty easy to read. I will start reading, like properly reading, Carve the Mark. I finished reading Another Day by David Levithan. I kind of just binge read the whole end really quickly because it's like dead easy. It wasn't the most fun thing, but it was pretty easy, so I just sat down and finished it all. I'm not sure if I liked this one more than the first one or not. It's kind of pros and cons. Like the first one goes into like the mystery side of why they're changing bodies every day a bit more, and I found that really interesting. But this one goes into like abusive relationships a little bit, or more manipulative relationships, and I think that was done pretty well. No, generally I enjoyed it less, I think, because I knew it was happening. It kind of in a lot of ways just felt like the same book. I started reading Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth. I've also got Chewing Gum In, so sorry. At first I kind of wasn't enjoying it. I was like, I don't think it's for me. I think it's too complex. I don't know, there was just sometimes when you get thrown into like a high fantasy book and there's all these like new words and new concepts, and all of a sudden, and they're not really explained properly, or they're explained like very loosely, it can get very overwhelming at the start. But now I'm about 100 pages in, it's getting a little bit easier, so I think I might stick with it. I'm not sure how I feel about like the plot yet, because it hasn't really happened. Like nothing's really happened yet, but yeah. The characters are okay, the premise is okay. I'm not 100% sold yet, but I will keep you updated. I finally finished season 3 of Stranger Things and it broke me. Oh, the ending. My heart. It was honestly, I did not see it coming at all. Like, I was on like episode 5 and I was like, it's okay, I preferred season 2. And then it got like the end of the series where they sort of fight the big bad, like massively brought it back. It was so good. It like turned itself around. Yeah, I would recommend binge watching the last couple of episodes, which is what I did, because a lot of them are set over like a very short space, like time span. So it's probably better to watch them just like all back to back, rather than some of the earlier episodes which are sort of spaced out a little bit more. But yeah, it totally redeemed itself. It was fantastic. I watched the whole of Disenchantment, or all of it that's on Netflix. There's only one season on Netflix, which is only 8 episodes. So I watched 8 episodes of Disenchantment, which is, if you guys don't know, they're like same people who did Futurama, except it's just like a Netflix show. I enjoyed it. It's not as good as Futurama, I don't think, but I did. I really enjoyed it, and I would watch another season. I really like that universe, and I want to know more about it, and I want to know more about the characters, because they were really cool. Yeah, it was like a more chill version of Rick and Morty. I think it's probably a good way to describe it, even though I've only seen half an episode of Rick and Morty. But from the impression of what I got of it is, Disenchantment's kind of like a diluted version of it, with less interdimensional travel. I don't know what I'm talking about. I've never seen it. Did I tell you I started rewatching Once Upon a Time? I can't remember if I did. I've started rewatching Once Upon a Time. I watched it years ago when I was doing my GCSEs, and I really liked it, and apparently the new seasons are good, but I've no idea what happens, so I'm basically watching it again from the start. It's really cool. The thing that I like the most is the costumes. I love the costumes. Costumes are great. While I was in London, vlog coming soon, I went with Carla to go see Everybody's Talking About Jamie, and I have some feelings about it. The show itself was great, like the music was great, the choreography was fantastic, the cast was all really good, set design was great, songs were great, all of it was great, except for the plot, sort of. I'm not sure if it was the plot that I had an issue with, or more like Jamie as a character. Basically, the whole thing was incredibly self-centered. Everything was about him, and it was like really obnoxiously about him, and not like, oh, it's all about him, and then later on he realises that, oh yeah, I'm going through hardship and everybody else was... No, it was all about him all the way through. All the other characters only ever sung about him, spoke about him, like everything was about him. He had a friend who at one point says like, oh, I want to be a doctor, you've never really asked me about it, you never really asked me about my religion, it's always about you. But then that was it. He leaves, and then she sings a song about him. Like, the mother, who was a fantastic character, her whole point was to be talking about him. She has this whole song about how her whole life is her son. So yeah. Me and Carla watched the original Annie because I've never seen it before. I don't really... It feels like a thing that I can't really review because it's like such a classic. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Did I enjoy it more than I think I would? No. It was... okay. The music was fun. It was fun to, like, visually it was fun. Yeah, it's kind of hard to review something like that. Cool. This is great. This is a kind of great 10 out of 10 reviewing that you guys signed up for. Me and Cara the other day watched the new Aquaman movie and it was weird. It kind of follows all the same patterns that a lot of DC movies do, which is that the characters were good, the plot was pretty good. The movie is there's just something that they're not doing right. Like, the pacing was so weird, and the music, like the score, was not good. It just kept like, I did not match with the scene at all, and then it would just like suddenly appear. There was no like fade in. There would just be like bang music, and it wouldn't be like a shock moment. It would just be like a, oh no, there's music. The whole thing looked like cuts, like looked like the scenes that you would have cut from a movie. It was just weird. It was weird. I'm pretty sure that is everything for this month's vlog, or at least it is now because it's Tuesday and I need to edit and post this tomorrow. So yeah, I hope you like this video. There's a new one every month. Like, subscribe and all that jazz. If you have any questions, then leave them down in the comments. New videos every Wednesday, and I'll see you next week.